Hello and welcome back to Jarrett et al. Today I'm going to be talking about 10 tricks to achieving any goal. This is literally just my formula that I've come up with. I've tested it, tried it, it worked for me, so I'm hoping it might work for someone else. I know a lot of people say, be consistent and be intentional, and all these things are great, but I think there's some things that you can often miss out if you're just not informed about it. So that's the purpose of the video today, is to inform you of those things that you might not have thought about before, but could really help you to achieving any goal you set. I also want to show off my Jarrett et al mug, because you can see this is me, which actually makes a great Christmas present, and it literally just makes the drink taste better. Like, I've only got summer fruits in here, but it tastes like the berries we picked this morning. So I definitely recommend one of these personalized cartoon mugs, which I got from Digital Water, and their link will be in the description below, and it actually even says Jarrett et al on the back. And on that note, I'd also like to say, make sure you subscribe to Jarrett et al. Enough of that, let's get into the video. Okay, so it kind of goes without saying, but when you've got a goal in mind, you need to set yourself a goal and make sure you achieve it. Whether that means putting posters around your room, but just be intentional with what you want to achieve. So if your goal is to perhaps buy a car, have it there, write it down, write it on your wall, write it on your forehead, and just make sure it's there, because then having it written down is what allows you to make sure all of your decisions are in line with being able to achieve that goal. So the first tip I'm going to say is to get a project book. I've made a lot of purchases this year, and I would say by far this was the most useful purchase that I actually made, because if it wasn't for my project book, which I actually got from W.H. Smith for only like $4.99 or $5.99, if it wasn't for this project book, then I wouldn't have been able to, I don't think I'd been able to achieve half the things I did. And the reason being is because this is literally where you just dump all your thoughts and everything that you're planning, everything that you're thinking. So literally in my project book, it starts with Jarrett et al. And what was the original launch first video by the end of 2020. Hey, look at us now.
Look at us. Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
And it literally has when the student becomes a teacher. That was my tagline, and this was in January where I got this project book, and it's literally got everything that I planned, because Jarrett et al didn't actually start off with this intention. It was supposed to be a cartoon series, but it's literally got all the costs written down from that. And it was actually supposed to be, when it was supposed to be a cartoon series, I was getting quotes at like £21,000, and I said, not gonna happen. So yeah. And it's quite nice to be able to look back and reflect on it. I also wanted to start tutoring, which I did start this year, and I wrote down all the list of the tutors, sites that I wanted to apply to, and then placement, internships. God blimey, this thing's been through a lot. But yeah, I even have my shopping list in here and like the big expenses that I wanted to write. So literally a project book I would 100% recommend. And I wouldn't say get the prettiest thing with, the project books that have so much writing on the page that it's like, what am I even going to write myself? I personally would stay away from those and just get ones that are lined. I actually haven't finished this one, but just plain lines, and it's just literally you can just dump all your thoughts there, and it helps you to really organize your thoughts. And I would definitely recommend a project book over just writing it in your notes page, because there is a certain, I don't really know what it is, but I don't know what the psychology behind it is, but it does sort of heighten your understanding of things when you actually write them down. So yeah, 100% recommend a project book. The next thing I would say is to date yourself. And this could mean anything from literally going on dates by yourself, to cinema, or going out to eat by yourself, to just spending more time becoming more in tune with yourself. And the reason why is the more time you spend with yourself, the more you're able to acknowledge your flaws. And once you're able to acknowledge your flaws, you're then able to start working on them, because you never know. Sometimes it's so easy to blame, oh, but this happened or this happened, which is why I wasn't able to get this done. But a lot of the time the flaws are from within, and if you're able to see those and recognize those, then you can actually start to change them. You might also notice that once you become a lot more in tune with yourself, a lot of things in your life and a lot of people in your life may no longer align with your end goal, and that's okay. People outgrow people, and it's not to say that you're better than them or you're doing better than them, but there's so many people in this world, you're not supposed to be friends with everyone, So I would definitely recommend that, and it does make you aware of who no longer aligns with your goal. Another thing you'll realize when dating yourself is that success is subjective. Now, I sort of had the goal of being able to buy a car or get an internship at Microsoft this year, and I was fortunate enough to be able to achieve those, but that might not be the same for everyone. And what I mean is, for example, how a lot of people will sort of say, I'm going to be a millionaire it doesn't have to be everyone's end goal. And a lot of people want to say, I'm a leader. It doesn't have to, everyone's goal doesn't have to be the same. And I think that's something that you need to be aware of. I don't necessarily have the goal of being a millionaire by, you know, the time I'm 30 or whatever, and that's okay. I think a lot of people, a lot of the time, want to make their goals the same as what other people, or what sounds good or what looks good based on what they can see on the social front. However, this isn't necessarily what they want for themselves, and that's okay. Like literally, I think my personal biggest achievement this year was actually learning how to use Microsoft Excel, because I know so many people knew how to use that since like secondary school, whatever, but I just never knew how to use it, and I've always complained. But again, from dating myself, I realized that I'm just not proactive enough. I'm probably the most laziest, hardworking person that I know, in that YouTube's there, and I actually never used to use YouTube until this year, I can't lie. But it was literally one 31-minute long video, and I actually really get the gist of it. So my goal might be different to yours, and that's okay. Through dating yourself, you will realize what goals are specific to yourself. The third tip I would say is to surround yourself with like-minded people. Now, this might not be as easy for some than others, because they might have a very different career path to the rest of their people around, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in real life. It can literally be virtually. So for example, I'm currently working on getting into the tech industry. However, a lot of my friends might want to be doctors perhaps. And again, it's not to say that they're doing any better or I'm doing any better. It's just that we're going for different things. When you have friends or people around you that are working towards the same sort of goal, they can give you resources, you can give them resources, you can bounce off of each other, and you can really help each other in terms of working towards that goal. Even if you're not able to find perhaps friends going for the same career that you're looking for as well, you might just find YouTubers. So for example, I might be trying to develop my financial literacy, so I actually am subscribed to like Graham Stephan's show. There's people out there for everything, and I think I'm probably just naive because I didn't use YouTube, but I'm now starting to realize just how much there is on the internet. But when I say surround yourself with people that are like-minded, it doesn't necessarily have to be your close friends, as long as you're seeing the people that are working towards the same sort of thing as well. The next tip I would say is actually underestimate your goals. Now, I know some people might be thinking, not too sure about that. But I'm just speaking about what works for me. So if I have a goal of saving for a phone that's £1,000, I would actually set my goal to save for £500. And the reason being, okay, it literally just works for me. It might not work for you, but this is how it works, okay? If I'm working towards £500, then I might find it a lot easier to just get in the swing of things. And whilst I'm establishing that sort of consistency and getting used to constantly putting down this amount per month or whatever, I actually become more comfortable towards the numbers. Whereas if I just have the goal of saving £1,000, that could actually become a bit overwhelming, which I actually feel can actually end up demotivating you, because it might just seem more than you can actually achieve. By having those small goals, you still are able to work towards what the end goal actually is. Another example of this is a lot of people have the goal of being a millionaire, and I think it might be easier to perhaps work on how do I get on a salary of 50k a year first of all, and what are the actual steps I need to take to get to that goal. Because when you just broaden it out so wide, it's like, how do you actually keep track of where you're actually going and how close you are to it? But yeah, that's just me, and it's worked for me. But tip number 5 is another one that I'm sure a lot of people heard of, but I'm not sure how many people are actually following it. I say silent moves. And the reason why this works is not necessarily because of evil eye, I know a lot of people believe in, or that people have jinxed it. And you know, I know different religions have their different takes on it, all relating to the same sort of thing. But I think it's important that when you have a goal, you do what you can in silence. And reason being, not necessarily because of like the evil eye, for example, but I feel like sometimes when you voice things, again, I feel like it can actually overwhelm you. If I say, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy a house, and I keep putting it out there, that's great that you want to put it out there, but is it a conversation that you could have just between you and God, or you and yourself? That's just my take on it. And I do believe that when you actually put it out there, it can actually end up demotivating you again. So yeah, I would just say get things done, and then the results will speak for itself. For example, for myself, I remember when I went to my Microsoft interview, I remember I left the house at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I didn't tell anyone. I literally just snuck out the house because it was so far to get to. And I remember telling my friend about it after, like I didn't even tell my mum. And I remember telling my friend about it, and he was sort of like, is your mum gonna evil eye you or something like that? It's nothing like that at all. My mum's literally my biggest fan, but it's literally a case of, I feel like when you tell people about your plans, you can actually end up overwhelming yourself, and you just don't need to have that extra stress where you can just go and do it yourself. That's just my take on it. Tip number 6 is to ask for help. I feel like people have normalized this thing of not wanting to ask people for help. People just throw it back in your face. And it's like, I do understand where it comes from, because I know people take advantage of people a lot of the time, but this narrative around not asking for help, doing everything by yourself, a lot of the most successful people haven't got there just by themselves. It's by using the resources and asking for help around them, because there's going to be someone who's before you that's done it better and has done it already. So why not ask for their guidance and their support? I don't understand that one. But yeah, definitely ask for help, but I would definitely say only ask for help from the people that you need to involve. Again, you don't need more people knowing about your plans before you've actually executed them. So this means that if I'm making a product, for example, and my target audience isn't my friends, then I wouldn't actually tell them about it. However, I would speak to someone who I know that is a target audience, getting their feedback on it. You don't need to involve more people than it requires. Just involve who you need to be able to achieve it. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask for guidance or help, because there's someone before you who's already done it and succeeded. Tip number 7, I would say, is continuous assessment. In fact, I'm going to call this one quality assurance, because it just means that you're keeping on track of your progress as the stages are going along. If I have a goal of buying a bag, for example, that costs £8,000, and I start saving for it in January and I have up until August, I know I need to be saving about £1,000 a month. And what you need to do is, if you're getting to March and you've only saved like £500 and you know that you should have saved £3,000 by then, you need to be on top of that to know that, oh wait, something's not adding up here. I need to work out what's gone wrong and what I need to do to get back on track. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to get to July now and you only have £3,000 saved, because you weren't keeping on top of what you actually needed to do to get to your end goal, if that makes sense. And on that note as well, be flexible with your goals. We're in a whole pandemic which has affected all of us in some way, so be flexible in that you won't have control over everything, but just keep track of what you do have control of, if that makes sense. Tip number 8 is be prepared to fail. I'm not saying you're gonna fail, I'm just saying leave room for that. I think a lot of the time it's so easy to say I'm gonna be successful, and you will if you do what it takes to get to your version of success. However, everyone that succeeded has failed along the way, so be open to failing. And the reason why I think it's important to leave room for that is because you're able to bounce back a lot quicker if you was able to not see it coming, but you're mentally prepared. Number 9 is to flip habits. So I know that, for example, I might spend a lot of time scrolling through my phone, and I could actually flip that into something more productive. In fact, a better example would be when I was at uni, I would literally be going to sleep at like 5 a.m. in the morning, and it's like, what was I doing in that time when the rest of the world was sleeping? I just felt like I was just wasting myself. So that's when I actually started to do more reading, and that's when I started to improve just my knowledge about different things. So flip bad habits, or just use your time better. And it doesn't mean that you need to now start doing massive things, but if you just take a bad habit you have and the time that you use on that and flip it into something that is going to be a lot more productive and more useful for yourself in the long run, then that's how you actually get closer to achieving your goal. And the 10th and final thing is humility. Now, I used to struggle with what does being humble actually mean, but I feel like the same way something can be given to you, it can be taken from you just as quick. So I think it's important to know that life is constantly changing, and you just need to be able to adapt to that. I wouldn't really brag about things that you have, because you may be in a great position now but not the next. So it's very important to stay humble. And I feel like, I don't know why, but I do feel like by acting in sort of a showing off way, I think things can definitely come back at you in a way that you might not want it to. So I'd say definitely try to remain humble throughout all your pursuits and just do what you can. But yeah, that's it really. I think I remember in January, a funny story actually, this is how I chose for 2020 to be my year. I remember it was in January one time when I was just in my bed and I was thinking, what am I doing in my life? You know, I need to take more control of what I can, because you can't control everything, but there's certain things that you can. And then I just sat there and I said, yeah, I'm going to set a goal. I might even have the snap, because I remember putting it on my story, and I said, yeah, this isn't really working out for me. I'm going to need a bit more for myself. I expect a bit better for myself. So, and that's how I sort of got here. So it's literally just a case, it starts with writing down your goals and then just following these 10 steps through. And I do hope that they help someone. And if they do, then let me know in the comments. Please also like, and don't forget to subscribe and share it. If you do feel like it helped you, then share it as well. And I'd also like to refer you back to my last video as well, where I was talking about 10 ways I saved £10,000 this year, which I think links nicely. And that is all from me today. See ya.